Hello, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller.
Hello and welcome to the Baller BBL SuperCoach podcast. I am your host and coach of the Terrace crew, Matt Ricks. We are very, very close to the start of the Big Bash season now, and we have plenty to go through. Tonight's episode is all about how to structure your first team build. I'm joined tonight by the Myth, coach of Myth Don. How are you, mate?
Well, thanks, and getting excited. Now we're close. The mail's starting to come out. 12 days away. I'm just looking forward to some Supercoach. I've been missing it.
Yeah, it still feels, I got to be honest, it still feels a little bit in the distance to me. We got the test match this week. I'm pumped for that. I have been thinking a lot about Babar Azam, though, I've got to admit, and he's starting to filter into my daily morning routine and that sort of thing. Do I go with him? Do I not? Have you got any players like that who are starting to eke into your psyche?
No one's sneaking into my dream taking poles or smashing sixes yet, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time until those fever dreams are really hitting.
Yeah, no, I did a first little deep dive just before the pod, just on Babar's recent T20 form, and it's pretty impressive, I've got to be honest. We'll get into him and much more on the Sydney Sixers later tonight. Before we get into the team builds myth, got to drop the Baller Prize League, $3,000 on the line, $2,000 to the winner and $500 each to the place getters. Now, we asked you last week, have you joined the league? And your answer was no. I hope that's been rectified.
All week I've been feeling like I've been forgetting something, and then I joined about 60 seconds ago in the green room.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, we're going to get that right up in the hundreds. So it's going to be a great chance to win the $3,000. It's the biggest prize in Supercoach away from the game itself, and we're pumped. We've got tools coming on ballr.live to help you out for your final team builds. The boys are putting the finishing touches on them at Baller Towers right now, and I believe they'll be out this week. So please stay tuned. Head along to ballr.live. We've got player stats. We've even got historical economy bonuses. We've got strike rate bonuses. We got the lot. We got fielding. Anything you're going to want to see for your initial team build, we were going to have it there at ballr.live. So make sure you keep checking it out and stick close to our socials. I know we're going to get a ton of stuff up on there as well. And you can find us at Baller BBL and at Baller Sports on the various channels. So please go along, give us a follow. Mate, let's get straight into it. Team builds. I probably made my first draft about 3 weeks ago. Hasn't changed too much from there. What number draft are you sort of up to?
I don't want to know. That number's probably at least in double digits, if not getting closer to triple digits. But I think it's just small changes I'm finding now. There's little intricacies with the schedule and trying to take advantage of the doubles, but set the team up well for the medium term as well. That's just making small changes here and there and playing with things when news changes and news drops, of most recent being Mitch Owen going, okay, he's now solidified in there. Can't play without him.
Just on Mitch, it sounds like it was a bit of a hammy issue. Does it put the, I mean, probably going to have to take him just because of his upside and he's obviously a massive captaincy option for double game week 1. Does that hamstring, like that, maybe he might not bowl now? Like, does it put the slows on you at all?
Can't help his bowling, but I don't think it was that high of a chance of bowling anyway. I think it might make me be a little bit more careful with captaincy and just fingers crossed even more that the Sixers VC pops off.
Yeah, exactly right. I think the question on most super coaches' mind to start the season myth is how many double game week players from game week 1 should they be taking into their team? We know that there's one of these teams has a second double game week not too long after the start. Hurricanes. So, we're looking probably to trade a couple of sixes out after game week 1. What's your current strategy for how many doublers you want to take into round 1?
I've been coming around to probably more rather than less. Just looking at the schedule, they don't play each other, which is quite odd for two teams on the double game week, which means the ceiling's just even higher. They're not going to eat into each other's points. There's a possibility both Canes and Sixers start the season with a 2-0. And if that does happen, they're probably going to score really, really well. So it feels like you got to capitalize on it.
Yeah. I'm really trying to be conscious to set up to maximize the amount of score involvements that I have, not just for the first week, but for the rounds ahead. So we've obviously got the Heat and the Thunder in round 2 with the double game week, and then we're looking at the Stars in game week 3. Let's start with the Heat and Thunder. How many of those guys are you looking for your initial build? So, yeah, like I said, they're just, I think they're key ones, because you are able to make 2 trades after round 1 and a boost if you want as well. But you probably want to make sure that you've got your squad, filled with a few of those guys at least to kick off.
Yeah, I think they do play each other, which does withdraw their appeal. And I actually think they're two sides that have probably the least relevant number of players. I think you find that their all-rounders are the guys that are the main guys, are the ones that are going to get the good overs. So I don't think there's too many, particularly with the Thunder, that appeal to me. I'm looking at 4 in my initial squad for most of my builds. It won't be any less than 3. I can't see it being any more than 5.
4 combined
4
at the moment.
combined.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm going slightly higher there currently. I've currently got 3 Heat and 3
That is a lot.
3 Thunder. So yeah, so I'm just looking at what that looks like. I like as well that the guys who in those teams are also excellent single game week players who can be plugged in week 1. So you like Xavier Bartlett, Shaheen Sharafridi, Michael Nisa, who's obviously been a fantastic Supercoach player of the years. And then at the Thunder, Dan Sam's outstanding all-rounder. And I know someone that you're pretty keen on, Shadab Khan.
Yeah, the 2 all-rounders, I think Shadab Khan and Daniel Sam's pretty easy to slot those guys in. Again, with the Heat as well, but especially playing on that Geelong deck, their seamers are pretty appealing to play in that first round.
But yeah, I've sort of been grappling with a trade. Basically, I've tried to plan out the entire season of a base of how many players from which I want in the team, and what's the optimal strategy to maximize the double game weeks across the entire season. Now, there are multiple paths to that. Like I said, you can really load up on Sixers and Hurricanes, hold on to your Canes through, but there's no one right or wrong. But there is you don't want to be too overloaded with a single team, do you?
No,
For too long.
and I don't think you want to pick someone just because they have a double. I think we can be caught into that. If someone's batting 6 and not bowling, just because they've got a double doesn't mean they're going to score well. So just being careful of who we're selecting. Some of these teams just have so many good options.
And we spoke about that last week around it's not just the fact that they're doubling, it's the role that they have within the team, and then also their price tag as well. Like, are they likely to lose cash, and is that gonna hamper your plans down the track? So as we said last week, you need to stay flexible on that front, mate. Away from all those double teams, who are you filling your squad with beyond Hurricane, Sixers, Thunder, and Heat?
So I've got 2 Scorchers and 1 Star in my current build. One thing I've noticed with the fixture that I think hasn't been discussed too much is the first 3 rounds is 2 teams on the double, but for the remaining 6 rounds post that, there's only 1 round that has 2 teams on the double. Every other round, there's only 1 other team that's playing. So round 4 is a Perth double. Round 5 is a Stars double. Round 6, I believe, is a Sixers double. It's only 1 team. So all of a sudden, we're going to go from 2 or 3, maybe 4 single game week players in your team to more like 6 or 7. So I'm liking the idea of that. There's going to be an opportunity in round 4, round 5, where I think a lot of teams are going to get caught out playing some really dodgy single week players. And if I've got a couple Scorchers there already, I might be able to burn a trade or a boost at that point to get a really good single game week player. So maybe I'm playing a Matt Short while someone else is playing a Xavier Bartlett on the single, as an example.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point you make, Myth, around those that they're in from round 4 onwards, that there's only going to be 1 team that's going to be doubling each week. There's obviously teams on the bye there as well for looping purposes. But is that going to come into your strategy for which players you sell for all these bulk double game weeks in the first 3 rounds, and trying to hold those really strong players with decent roles, even if it means maybe you're not getting the best doubler for some of those single game weeks?
I think I'll be trying to get the best doublers. I think this strategy is something I'll consider if I can do it without sacrificing the best doublers. Going without Glenn Maxwell in round 3 on a double is just not happening. You've got to find a way to get these guys in. I think it's at least round 1 and 2, the only really expensive doubler across all the teams is Mitch Owen. And so the first 2 rounds, you can kind of work your strategy around it, your team structure around that. But no, I think it's still going to be the doubles prioritizing. It's just on the edges they're trying that to set up medium term.
Yeah, you've thrown me a little bit with your Scorchers chat as well, because I know there's a ton of value with those guys. Your Hardys and your Beardmans. Who else is sort of cheap in
Finn
there?
Allen,
Finn
Matt
Allen,
Kelly.
Yep. So yeah, feasibly, you can carry those, especially if you don't have to play them in rounds 1 or 2. They're sort of taking up a bit of emergency space there on the pine. I'm going to have a bit of a think and see if I can fit that into my strategy. I might do a bit of wrangling with ChatGPT tomorrow. Mate,
Run the numbers.
Run the numbers, exactly, mate. Something that's really important is Wicketkeeper, and this is kind of a bit sort of flies under the radar, and how you can use your wicket keepers with the dual positions with the bat wicket keep. We obviously the strategy is the emergency, isn't it? Like, hey, putting these wicket keepers who play first with an emergency, and then being able to either loop them if you can get a non-playing keeper in. That's like the dream, obviously. But talk us through a bit about how you're thinking about keepers to start the season.
Yeah, there's 2 strategies that I'm weighing up. Number 1 is take advantage of these doubles and almost write it off as a dud position. You can start McDermott with Bancroft and have a double player for the first 3 rounds. Don't even worry about looping, just scrap it. You could do it with Philippe and Joe Clark. I think that's even cheaper. It might even be cheaper or similar price. And you've got a double in 2 of the first rounds, 2 of the first 3 rounds. Or the other option is then get another keeper in, or I think you almost have to go to 4 keepers and try and loop that position. You might have a combination there of like Finn Allen as the emergency, McDermott in your keeper spot, Philippe in your bat, and then if Finn Allen goes off instead of McDermott, going in NPR instead and running one less Hurricane. Something like that's the other probably strategy I'm weighing up. I'm not sure where I'm sitting at the moment. I think my current side's just going scrap the keeper loop for the first 3 rounds. I'll look at it round 4.
Yep. It was really a wasteland keeper last year, wasn't it? It was kind of, who can I fill that with? That's why we spoke so much about Sam Harper the other day. But yeah, I'm a bit and because it was such a wasteland, they're also cheap, so they all look very attractive. But you're still struggling. Like, I'm sitting there staring at Ben McDermott, 79k in my number 1 wicketkeeper slot. I'm not feeling amazing about it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone you could put in that keeper slot and feel good, to be honest.
No. Mate, bat only guys. We spoke at length last week about the risks of having your bat onlys on the field. We want to have them as emergencies. We want to be filling our batting slots with as many bat bowl guys as we can to really lift the floor, particularly if they're on the double. Your initial squad build, how many bat only? And I suppose we can throw the wicketkeeper that you've got in a batting slot in there as well. If obviously the keeper more chances of fielding points or not, but they're not bowling, so that's the main point. How many of those bat only guys are you looking to start with potentially?
In my side at the moment, I've got 1 bat only and then the 2 keepers, and it's not going to grow much more than that. It might go to 2 at most.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. I'm just looking at my current team now, and I've got no bat only. I've got Philippe in a batting slot, who could also be Babar Azam, who I'm. After you've just talked about Bancroft, I completely forgot Bancroft was a keeper. Who is he? Won't be keeping though, will he? Billings will be keeping.
Yeah, you got Billings as another Thunder option for a little bit more. He will have the gloves, but I think he's more expensive and he'll bat lower.
Bat 4 probably, I think.
Or 4 or 5.
He's just got that role as well. He plays the anchor role a lot in those middle overs, so he can often get you a 30, but he won't. Don't get me wrong, he's a quality player and he can go off, but you just see those innings from time to time where he'll get 30 off 28, no strike rate bonus, but he'll get them through some tough overs and set them up, give them a platform.
Yeah, I don't think either of the Thunder keepers are really known for their quick strike rate, but I still think I'd probably have Billings over Bancroft in terms of a strike rate. He's just going to have less opportunity.
the Finn Allen point you made has really piqued my interest as well. I'm not sure I can carry 4 keepers. Well, the final team set up. We can chat bowls as well, but the final team set up before we get stuck into a bit more Hurricanes Sixers specific chat for round 1 is Nuff, and we spoke about this last week. Are you currently got a Will Saltzman in your team, or are you looking to potentially try and get through those first few weeks where maybe you won't be looping or you might get lucky with a loop, and then just use those buy players as a loop, so you're maximizing player availability and B, squad value, or are you looking to start with enough Will Saltzman dual 39k?
I think mine's purely because with my current team structure, it's going to depend on my scorches. So I'll have 2 scorches with the E to start off round 1. And if one of those goes off, I will have Salzman. If neither of them go off and my vice captain flops, then I probably won't have him. And if I need him, I'll probably burn a boost to get a loop in come round 2. But if I don't have him, it means I probably carry an extra City Thunder or Brisbane Heat anyway. So I'm 1 ahead of what I would have had.
Yeah, that's actually a good point as well, and I hadn't really considered, because Renegades do play later in the round. Throughout the season, they've got a very friendly Nuff schedule, but round 1, playing that second game, it means any emergency you've used on your bench there, you've got to have that has to be Perth or a Sydney player, and you're not getting a Sydney player to stick the E on them, are you?
No.
Or is that feeding into your strategy of your Perth selections?
A little bit. Because I don't think there's the other 39k dual guy's a Sydney Thunder guy, and I don't want to risk looping with them on the double. Like, what happens if he's nowhere near the squad game 1, and then you have a heart attack when you see the team list for game 2, and the guy that's meant to be not be playing has found his way into the squad?
Who is
Unlikely.
that?
I think it's O'Connor.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look. Let's just get that up, because that is important. We know that Saltzman. We know that Saltzman's out for the season, so that's the real appeal with it. I just get very antsy not having someone that I can loop. Like, I really want to maximize the use of the emergencies. It's just so important, and they just de-risks these guys who have low floors. And particularly guys with big upside, like your Fraser McGurks and you guys who open the batting with high strike rates. All right, I'm getting this up here. Aiden O'Connor. Can't say I've heard of young Aiden. I'm sure producer Gramsy will whisper in my ear who Aiden is. Not Lee. There was that strikers bloke, the spinner, Liam O'Connor.
Yeah.
Am I making that up, or is that?
I think
that's.
There was a spinner.
There was a spinner named O'Connor. I think it was Liam. I'm going to go with that. I'm sure the listeners can let me know if I'm wrong. All right, mate. Let's get into Hurricanes and Sixers and who we're looking at to fill out our squad. I've currently got 9. How many did you say you've got?
Do you say? Oh, sorry, 9 combined. I've got 10 Canes and Sixers combined.
All right, let's go through a couple of the no-brainers. So I'm going to chuck some names at you, and you're just going to tell me, am I right, them being no-brainers? Ben Dwarshuis and Jack Edwards.
Yeah, no-brainers.
Yeah, we think Edwards will bat 3 or 6. It looks like he's going to get the bowling duties, so yeah, zero risk there for Jackie Edwards. No, that's a silly thing to say. We're all about probabilities at ball. I can't say zero risk. There is always a tiny bit of risk, but we think he's extremely low risk. Okay, from the Hurricanes, Mitch Owen.
He's too risky to go without, I think, from what he's shown last year. And the worst thing would be to fade him thinking he's going to just bat, and then you turn on the screen and he's bowling the 5th over or something like that. You'd have a heart attack.
Is he your captain if your Sixers vice captain doesn't go off?
That's where I might fade. I might have him, but not captain him. I'm not too sure.
Would that come down to ownership?
Not necessarily, but if you think about it, he could be an opening bat with no bowling. That's a pretty good role to fade or go against.
Yeah, he's just very good.
Yeah, that's the problem.
A couple of bowlers, mate. In fact, I'm going to give you 3 bowlers from the Hurricanes, and I wouldn't mind discussing because I don't think any of them are no-brainers. Nathan Ellis, Riley Meredith, and Chris Jordan.
I'll have 2 of them. I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
I'm finding it hard to split them, but at the moment, the one that's in and out of my side, whether I run 3 or not, is Riley Meredith. Nathan Ellis and Chris Jordan are the 2 that are in most of mine, and that's purely down to Ellis being the main death bowler and Jordan offering something with the bat.
Yes. It'll be interesting to see if Jordan, where Jordan's role. Where do you see Jordan's role in the bowling lineup being? Power surge?
Yeah, I think they don't like bowling him early, so I think he'll bowl 1 or 2 through the middle, and then he'll bowl 1 in the power surge and 1 towards the end. But him and Meredith kind of seem to switch up who's bowling the surge and the other death overs with Ellis, it seems.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see. I'll probably do little bit of research on Meredith. I haven't looked too much into him, but he's the lowest owned out of that lot at 14%. Ellis is currently 32%, and Jordan is the lowest owned, 11.8%.
Yeah.
He's getting old, Jordan, but I at a cheaper price and lower ownership, I think I'd be Jordan at this stage over Meredith. Just like you said, we Jordan will probably bat low with like with Ahmed and Hussain potentially. Like it's hard to see him sort of being above 8. Like 8 would be absolute best case.
Yeah, I think there's a chance he bats above Hussain, but yeah, obviously then he's still at 8, but the game can still fall for him. Like it can still go that way where he gets a decent go with the stick. If it happens 1 in 5 times and he happens to go off in those 5 times, that could be the difference between him and Meredith.
Yeah, it's with these guys as well. Like he's 30. I'm just looking now. He's 37, Jordan. So he's like there is a very very big cliff for some of these guys with their batting. When they sort of get up in that mid upper 30s range, like the eyes start to go and it can get pretty bad pretty quickly. And not saying that's going to happen to Chris, but it's certainly a bit of a risk. I couldn't possibly go without Ellis. I don't think he actually cost me very badly a couple of years ago when I was right up in the ranks and I went Meredith instead as a pod again on an ownership basis. It's just the role. Like he bowls the 20th over of the innings every time, or not every time, but he'll be 19 or 20. He'll bowl minimum 2 overs out of the last 4. He'll bowl surge as well, and it's just an excellent bowling role as we talked about last week. He's 153k, but he's also someone who you don't mind playing as a single game week player.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it. He's got that role. It's the best role for any bowler basically out there.
Yep. Let's go back to the Sydney Sixers now with a couple of more of those standout guys. They're not quite as clear, but probably some of the guys who most are weighing up are Josh Philippe and Babar Azam at the top. And I'm going to chuck in one more. Who am I going to chuck in there? No, there's no one else standing out. I'm looking at the sort of the most likely selections here. So let's just have a bit of a chat about Babar and Philippe. I'm really struggling to split these two. Philippe, the wicket, probably that's going to come down to wicketkeeper strategy for me, whether I go Philippe or Babar.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it as well. I've had Josh Philippe in most of my drafts. I think the extra 50k you save over him compared to Babar is a big difference. And the Sixers having a few buys, if you can hold on to Philippe, he's going to be so useful to use as a loop later on in the season. He's got a few more doubles there. It's just appealing from that side of things. And man, I've been burnt in the past by some of these international bats.
Yeah. I think Babar's going to go a little bit under the radar. He is absolute world class player. Like he's top tier, and he, just looking at his numbers pre-pod, last 2 years in all T20s, he's striking at 130, which rises to 134 when he scores 20 or more. So he's not slow. Like I think there's a bit of a misconception that he's quite a dull batter, but he's just an elite T20 player. He obviously doesn't play IPL because he's Pakistani. You were saying that his record in Australia probably doesn't quite match what he's done, certainly on the subcontinent wickets. I just think he's going to be a bit undervalued, and just for how good he is, just to get one score out of two in those two games. He's 19% owned. I'd like that to be a little lower. Philippe, he's 44.5% owned. So very, very well found so far by the masses, and rightfully so. Look, he's sub 110K. Like you said, he's going to have that. It's just so important. He's going to have, if you don't have that enough, he's going to have 2 rounds in the back end of the season where he can be your wicketkeeper loop, which, that could net you upwards of 100 points each time, pending how your emergencies go there. So, yeah, I think that really comes into it. But I just think Babar could be a little bit of a sleeper coming into round 1.
I'd like Babar a little bit more if his first game in Australia was in an Optus Stadium.
We can call it Optus Stadium again now that the test is over. It was Perth Stadium last week. It's the sponsors are back in business. Shout out to Optus. Optus did me an absolute beauty in store the other day. Went in for my wife to get a new phone. She needed a new phone, and somehow I've walked out with a new phone as well. It's just too easy for these people.
That salesman's getting a raise.
No, it's just apparently I've saved money. That's how it was sold to me. So, next rung of players. So more popular players, mate. Tim David from the Canes. Now, I've never really been a Tim David SuperCoach fan. He's had streaks, quite obviously, and he did actually go on a bit of a tear last year at one point. Couple of things. I'm interested in your thoughts on what his role is going to be in the team, where he's going to bat, how many balls we think we're going to see from him. And then also, he's at ILT T20. He's due to come back, but is there any niggling doubt there? We're going to know by the first game anyway, so it's not too big a deal.
Yeah, if he's not named game 1, you don't pick him, obviously. He's the ultimate right now of form versus role, because he's very unlikely to bowl. He could still be batting at 5, but he's just in a reign of form that he's just seeing them like beach balls. He did it against, we saw him do it for Australia against some of the best bowlers in the world. He might be one of those players that's starting to just be too good for the BBL, and those guys are scary to fade. But if he's batting 5 as bat only, that's a good role to fade.
Yep. I'm with you. We saw what he did for Australia in those T20s going up the order. We got, Mark Wars going you just got to get these blokes in earlier. There are they do have their top order strong, Hobart, but it's not you could easily see, okay, Tim David saying, I want to be in by the 8th or 9th over, trying to face sort of 7, 8, 9 overs in the back end. If you what you say is right, if he's sort of gone to that next level where he's just too good for this league, and we see that year in, year out, guys like Maxwell, Mitch Owen last year, Matt Short, he well and truly fits into that category. So if they start trying to get him in that sort of middle over period rather than the sort of 13th, 14th, which is traditionally where they've wanted him to come in to really anchor the innings home, strike at 200 and either get them over the line or get them to that huge total. Yeah, I think we're just I think this is a real ear to the ground scenario for Tim David, because you're right, those type of roles are the perfect ones to fade.
If he's coming in at 4 versus 5, I think that makes all the difference in the world. And then the other factor with it is we know the influence of Cricket Australia's had on BBL teams in the past. We saw it famously a year or two ago with Michael Nisa only bowling 1 or 2 overs here and there. But if Cricket Australia want Tim David coming in at 4 for Australia moving forward, you can bet your life he's coming in at 4 for the Canes this season.
But what's your feeling there? Because there's a bit of uncertainty around who is going to bat 4 for the Canes. We've got options like, obviously, McDermott might bat at 4. He'll be 3 or 4, you would have thought. He could even open. He's done that role in the past a lot as well. Him and Wade will probably be 2 and 3, you would think.
I was thinking prior to the season, prior to the potential unavailability of Weatherald and Webster, that they might have pushed Wade down the order, saved him having to open so much, maybe get him through the season going back into that finisher role. But I think now, with Weatherald looking very unlikely to be available for the Canes, that Wade comes back into the opening. So I think there's definitely a spot at 4. Would only really take moving Chowdhury to 5. when
Well,
he
yeah,
slots in.
and looking at they're sort of a little bit dated, but looking at the guys at Honeyball, they're predicted 11. They've got Mac Wright in at 4. So like that has to be flimsy at best. Whether Matt, we've seen enough from Mac Wright. He's not a bad player, but I wouldn't suggest he's a lock to bat number 4 for the Hurricanes by any stretch of the imagination.
No, if it's an 8th over and they're tracking at a good rate, are they going to send Mac Wright in or are they going to send Tim David in?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at their predicted 11, like their whole team is a super coach option, pretty much. Like there's no one really you could say a hard no to. I kind of like the idea of David going to 4, and pushing everyone up a slot, and then potentially getting a good role player in who can come in late order and hit, or whether they carry the extra bowler. It'll be interesting to see because Chowdhury's really proven himself in that middle order for them as well, and he should get overs. Let's chat about Chowdhury. Do you think? Yeah, let's chat about Chowdhury and Ray and Ahmed. Ahmed is due to come back for the start. He had an injury, picked up an injury with the England Lions, and he went back to the UK. But the reports are now that he is due to come back. Do you see both Chowdhury and Ray and Ahmed in the lineup?
I do see them both in the lineup. I think the presence of Ray and Ahmed hurts Chowdhury's Supercoach prospects. I think Chowdhury played a lot with just one spinner in the team where he was that second option. But with both Hussain and Ahmed there, I don't see Chowdhury bowling as much as maybe he did. And that means he could be a bat only 5-6 guy, maybe 4, but that doesn't score at the highest clip that generally plays that anchor role. So I'm less interested in Chowdhury if Ahmed is present.
Yeah, I would. I think they're always reluctant to bowl Chowdhury as well. Like it's never like, oh, this is the plan. It's kind of like, okay, well, we got to get an over, or we got to squeeze an over or 2 here, and they chuck Chowdhury the ball. He's quite a decent bowler, but he's certainly not at the standard. He's not a frontline spinner by any means, and he's done exceptionally well for the bat. So you would think that he would hold his spot regardless. Ray and Ahmed is interesting. I guess just given that he is probably going to bat 7, I would have thought that makes him relatively compelling if he shows up in game 1.
And I think the fact that he has played up the order before too, some of these team lists, there's always a few curlies or a few little fibs that come through. Player named at 7 comes out at 4 or whatever. The simple thing is he can bat, he can bowl. He's got 5 games in the first 3. The game could fall for him. And I find it hard to leave him out with that thinking.
Yeah, well, he's exactly right. So across 2025 in the 100 and in the what's their other one, the Vitality Blast, he scored. He batted 3, 4, 5 across all those knocks, playing for Notts, and and it's just he can bat. So you're right. Like maybe he becomes Mac Wright in at number 4. Like that's not inconceivable by any stretch of the imagination. The keepers at the Canes, McDermott and Wade. Do you have a preference there?
McDermott, and it's not particularly close for me.
Yep. Let's hear it.
Purely just due to Wade's age, his issues with his back. Does he play all of those games? Where does he bat? I think you can pretty confidently say McDermott's going to be at worst 4. I do have some skepticism around where Wade's going to bat, and I would expect McDermott to take the gloves given Wade's back issues. If we get mail that Wade's taking the gloves and Wade's as fit as he's ever been, or that type of stuff, training the house down, then maybe I'll get a little bit itchy, but the 15K cheaper for McDermott kind of just tips it over the edge regardless, I think.
Yeah. McDermott had quite a down year last year. He has been like close enough to BBL Player of the Season on occasion prior. He's got big tons in his locker. I'd say probably the really big scores. Wade can no doubt scratch a 50 out, but I would have thought the big scores are probably behind Wade. Obviously, just saying that makes me feel like that's going to come back to bite me. But yeah, I'd be with you. I'd be with you on McDermott if I'm picking one of those guys. Despite what I said earlier about it not feeling great in the side, mate. Back to the Sydney Sixers now, and yeah, it's just not filling me with as much confidence. Looking at their lineup from a Supercoach options perspective, we got sort of non-events from a Supercoach perspective, like Moses Henriques. He'll get he'll captain the side and bat 4 again. He's been a great player. Jordan Silk is another one who bat only number 5, been an amazing servant and an amazing player for the Sixers, but never real it's very pottish for Supercoach. Neither of those guys are on your radar.
Yeah, neither of them have the role, but I think they both are going to have some scores throughout the season. And if you jag one, I don't hate Henriques, but I think I'd be looking elsewhere.
We don't have much data because he stopped playing Marsh Cup this season, Moe, but any chance, with their sort of depleted pace attack, that he could get a trundle, you think?
Man, that question gets thrown out every BBL preseason, doesn't it? I reckon that question popped up the first year I played was, is he going to bowl? The answer that I've seen the last 5 years is he's not going to bowl much. He might bowl an over or two in the whole season.
Yeah.
But you raise a good point. If Abbott's not there, they're running a very, very, weakened pace attack and bowling attack than what we've seen from them previously. I still just don't see it, though, because they'll have 6 bowlers.
Yeah, well, you think it'll be, for game 1 in Perth, you think it'll be Kane Richardson, Dwarshus, Jack Edwards. Is there anyone else to bowl seam up in that first game? What does Lockie Shaw bowl? I know Lockie Shaw's a very good young player. Does he bowl seam up?
Well, he's got Wicketkeeper, dual and Supercoach, so I'm going to assume no. You got Hayden Kerr.
Yep, Curry. Yep.
And then I think there's the guy who's played a bit of Shield, Mitch Perry, as 39K. I think he hasn't played in the BBL yet.
No.
I think we'll see Edwards, Dwarshus plus 2 out of Richo, Kerr, and Perry alongside the 2 spinners is what I'm anticipating. But maybe they run all the pace guys and they just run the 1 spinner in Perth. I think that's where there's so lack of almost options with the Sixers, because you're probably not taking either of the spinners. Richo's got some rotation. Perry would have some rotation. Kerr wouldn't be that secure, but probably a decent option himself. There's not a whole lot there.
No. If that's a real watch, because I think for someone like Hayden Kerr, I think he's actually quite a good option. He could bat sort of 7. Him and Dwarshus are probably fighting for number 7. He won't open like he has previously, but it's really, that lineup is going to be crucial to, do you think he's going to get a game in the second game? Because that rotation risk there is real, especially if Chohan and Murphy are the 2, only one of them lines up in Perth.
Yeah. If one of them lines up in Perth, Hayden Kerr's scary to take, because, the spinner could just come in for him in game 2. Maybe
even if it's Perry. Even if it's Perry who plays as well, for all we know, I would be surprised, but there's got to be a chance. They could go with Perry instead of Kerr as well in game 2.
I mean, that's where there's that potential option of, you could, I guess, put a 6er on the emergency, someone like a Perry or a Kerr if they're there game 1. Just see if they're there game 2 and then put a star in there if you don't want to loop them, if they don't score enough or they don't play both games. There's, I guess, some option there, but it might just be better to avoid these fringe guys.
Yeah, and would you include Kane Richardson in there as well? Just given his age and profile, they're going to have to go play in Perth. They're going to have to fly back. Just talking through that there, it does seem hard to imagine with Abbott gone down that maybe they're just going to need some experience. They're just too many slow. They're just not, they got no. I mean, Richardson's not an express, but they need some experience there in their fast bowling stocks.
They really do, and they're really lacking. And I think it's why we're going to see, come Supercoach time, most of us are going to have the same 6s. I think Babar Azam is going to be the main one that people do or don't have, and the one that's going to cause some shifts in the ranks, because I think most people are going to carry Philippe, Edwards, Dwarshus.
Yeah. We should note with the Sixers as well that they have signed Sam Curran, but he's unavailable until the ILT 20 ends. He's playing with all the other BBL imports for the Desert Vipers. Their last game, round robin game, is on Boxing Day, so they obviously could make finals. I think they've got a pretty strong team, but he's just a wait and see at this stage. Every year you go Sixers. Gee, this team looks a bit rubbish on paper, and then they just start the season.
Yeah.
Start the season 3-0, and you're like, okay, they're going to win again. So yeah, very very much looking forward to that. All right, mate. I'm going to just go through. We're just going to go through both those teams here, and I just want you to tell me which players from each team are in your current draft. Listener, knowing that this is certainly not final, and we've got a long way to go till final teams. So let's start with the Sydney Sixers, mate. Who you got?
I've got Philippe, Edwards, Dwarshuis, and I've got Hayden Kerr sitting there at the moment. But even talking through now, I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I have in my team, I've currently got Philippe, Edwards, Dwarshuis, and Kerr. Kerr, I think, is great value because I do like the overs that they do like to bowl him in. He's got a great slower ball. They do like to bowl him in some of these more key overs from time to time. So I do like him as a pick, but it's really, I value expected. I like in soccer fantasy we call it expected minutes. I don't know what we call it here, just expected games. I value them being on the pitch so much that I would really downweight my expectation on Kerr if we've got anything unclear on the makeup of the game 2 side. All right, Hurricanes.
I've got Mitch Owen, Tim David, Ben McDermott, Rayan Ahmed, Nathan Ellis, and Chris Jordan.
Owen, David, McDermott, Ellis, Jordan, and Ahmed.
Yeah. No
Okay,
Meredith
so
at the moment.
No Meredith. You've got 6 Canes.
6. Yep.
Okay. I had told my friend Mr. GPT that I didn't want any more than 5 in my team, but I'm going to have to reassess that, especially just with these Hurricanes picks. They're just unbelievable. I've got all of those except Tim David at the moment. For whatever reason, I've just left him out of this current build. Does not mean whatsoever that he will not be in my team come December 14 or to 15 when the Hurricanes first play. All right, have we covered everything off in there's a couple of spinners that I've just missed completely who neither are in our team at the moment, but they're both worth touching on. Jaffa Chauhan, he's a leggy, 85,000 playing for the Sixers, and Rishad Hossain, the Bangladeshi leggy, he's available for 117k from the Hurricanes. We obviously don't have them in our sides. I'd be very worried about Chauhan. With Todd Murphy, the exact same boat. We'll throw him in this poll as well. I'm not going anywhere near those Sixers spinners to start.
If they were playing on NG Stadium instead of Optus Stadium, I would have some interest. But no, not on a pace-friendly wicket. And Henriques has done Todd Murphy dirty more times than I can count, where he's bowled 1 over. So
Yeah.
Not going near there. Hussain's a little bit more interesting, but he's just not going to bowl the same, the overs that the pace guys are going to have, and they're around the same price, and they're more known. They've got more pedigree. Find it hard to take him over, say, a Chris Jordan or a Briley Meredith or a Nathan Ellis.
Mate, once again, my knowledge is just a little bit behind this season. Who's captaining the Hurricanes this year?
I'd expect it to be Nathan Ellis.
Yes, he captained last year. I just, not to say that Ellis won't bowl Hossain if he's not bowling well, but just given the options at Ellis's disposal as well, I'd suggest that Hossain is never guaranteed the full complement.
No, particularly at Ninja Stadium with the short square boundaries. There's this, they can really go after the spinners if someone's on.
Absolutely. Mate, that's going to see us out for episode 3 of the preseason. We're coming back in a few days' time with episode 4, where we're going to have a bit of a deeper look at the non-double game week players for round 1. We're talking Heat, we're talking Thunder, and we're talking Melbourne Stars predominantly, but also, as you mentioned earlier, a few of these Perth Scorchers guys who could be crucial to your team build, especially with the use of the emergencies. So, mate, really enjoyed. I've learned a lot. As I've said, I've been busy. I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to keep up. But I think it's going pretty well. I can't wait now. I'm pumped for the season to start. So, yeah, thanks very much for joining me again, Myth, and I'll catch you for the next episode later in the week.
Enjoyed every minute of it.
Good on you, mate. Cheers, guys.